Hey guys, it's Mr. V. Welcome to the first video on drawing and interpreting graphs. So, little story here. I've been trying to make these videos for about 2 weeks now, and I've literally spent hours on it, trying to be a perfectionist, trying to make them perfect, and you know what? It's just not gonna happen. So instead, I'm gonna record these videos all in one shot. No editing, no fancy stuff. I'm just gonna go with it. So, if the quality of this isn't too great, you're just going to have to deal with it. So, in this video, we're going to look at two things. We're going to look at step graphs and we're going to look at column graphs. Now, feel free to pause the video at any time to take any notes, or if you have particular questions, to jot them down so you can email me with them. Or feel free to watch the whole thing in one go and then come back. If you feel up to it, we usually recommend watching the video twice. The first time you just put it on, you watch, you listen, you pay attention, you try and understand, and then the second time you go through and you pause the video and you take some notes, and then you might rewind or fast forward, etc. Whatever works for you. Well, I think that about covers it. Without further ado, let's jump into it. So, the first one we want to look at is the step graph. So I've got an example picture here of a step graph, and hopefully you can straight away tell what makes it a step graph. So a step graph is a line graph. In fact, I might write this down. So a step graph is a line graph, but as you can tell, it kind of like jumps around. So it's a line graph that is the word is discontinuous. Discontinuous. What does that mean? Well, if you have a look here, discontinuous just means that this line doesn't just like keep going. There are these gaps between them. We call it a step graph because obviously it looks like steps with these horizontal sections. So a few things to take note of here. On a step graph, these lines are all horizontal. Alright, they're not on an angle, they're not diagonal, they're not non-linear, they're just straight, flat lines. Alright, and the second thing to note are these dots at the ends of our segments. So a closed circle means that it is an included value, while the open circle means it is not included. What that means is as soon as you get up to this value, so for the circled points, that is 4, what that's saying is at 4, this value is no longer included. So it's saying when you reach 4, you jump up to this step here. You can also do the other way around, have the open circle at the beginning and the closed circle at the end, which means at that value you're still here, and afterwards you jump up. So these circles, the closed and the open circles, are just telling you, do we, at value 4, do we use this reading for $4, or do we go up to the next one? So interpreting this graph is really rather easy. So if we're looking at what the value is at a particular moment, we just read up to the graph. So for example, how much is it going to cost for 2.5 hours worth of parking? Well, we read down to 2.5, and we just read up to the line, and that line, the step graph, tells us, okay, that cost is going to be $3. How much will it cost for 3 hours? Well, if we look at the 3 hours, we now have that point where we have two lines to look at. And so when we have two options, we look at the included value, which is this solid dot here. So at 3 hours, it now costs $4 worth of parking. Hope that helps you understand step graphs a little bit. Next up are column graphs. So let's look at column graphs, or you may know these as bar graphs as well. Hopefully, you're pretty familiar with these already. When the bars are set up going vertically, we call that a column graph, because these are all columns of bars. Whereas if they're horizontal, so on their sides, we call it a bar graph. But to all intents and purposes, it means the same thing. So interpreting these, again, is rather easy to do. So we might ask the question, how many non-profit organizations are there? And we would look at this horizontal graph, the bar graph, and we look at the non-profit, and we can see, okay, that's 57. We might ask how many people were between 40 and 49 years old in this survey. And so on this vertical column graph, we would look at 40 to 49. There's the category. And we read up, all right, that's 57 people between the ages of 40 to 49. So note that on these graphs, we have categories along one axis, categories, and we have a frequency of some kind along the other side. Now that frequency can be number of people, number of organizations, number of dollars, number of animals, number of siblings, but it usually involves a number of something. That's pretty much it for column graphs. Have a look at the questions from the textbook, give them a go. If you're still a bit confused, feel free to send me an email, or feel free to send me a message on Edmodo or something. I'm more than happy to help. Let us know how you're going, and I will see you in the next video.